All right. Sick. We already got people talking in the chat, so that's pretty neat. I feel like the Reaper should be 2 hit stallers. So yeah, so I was trying to get it to play the trailer that released today, but for some reason would not YouTube would not let me share the actual trailer as the preview, so that's weird. But yeah, no, that was the common comment about the original trailer, was that the Reapers were too short, or the Reaper was too short. What's up, Brick? How you doing? All right, so for this, and we'll just run anything for now, I suppose. So what I'm gonna be playing is just every Pilot Titan combo that I had designed for New Frontiers. So should be fun, should be interesting. But to everybody who's here, who saw the trailer, thank you very much for watching and supporting. It means a lot to have so many people return to come watch it, and then all the new people have also showed up to watch the trailer. It was super cool. Yeah, so we'll get right into playing. If you guys have any questions about the trailer that came out, feel free to ask in the comments of the stream, and I'll do my best to answer them, and I'll provide some insight along the way. I'll go ahead and mute in game so they don't have to listen to stop. Also, fold weapon too, so that's been a big question a lot of people have been asking. Fold weapon 2, without like giving spoilers, a lot of what this teaser trailer is, in like full transparency, is kind of like stuff to get the fans hyped up, right? So like it's all stuff that's talked about, and I'll kind of reveal it on stream because it's not like a huge plot point, but it's more so just to keep the story under wraps, especially because the show is several months from coming out. So the whole thing with the fold weapon that's being talked about, it's not actually being rebuilt. That's just the speculation from the militia, because the IMC is making kind of a final push against the frontier. So their assumption, because they're going to neighboring planets, is that they're trying to rebuild the fold weapon. So that's a comment that Sarah Briggs makes in passing, but it's not a major plot point. There is, you see the imagery of the fold weapon towards the end. There's like a quick, like, you know, half a second long shot of the fold weapon. That's actually a recreation of the end of Titanfall 2 in there. How many characters from Titanfall 2's campaign are returning in New Frontiers? So there are quite a few. You know, you're not going to see every single character because there's just a certain matter of writing and trying to keep things as fresh with new characters and whatnot, without like just detracting for the sole purpose of fanfare. That being said, you know, there's everybody that's in the teaser, and then there's also a handful of others. You can expect to see Davis and Dross return. Maybe BT. You know, we'll keep that one at a maybe. You know, we definitely teased him a little bit. You know, that was one of those we wanted to make sure that the fans kind of got a lot of intrigue just from the campaign and what's familiar. So it wasn't just like all completely fresh, but it's a very interesting and different story than what some might expect. It's a lot less Star Wars-y than the teaser might lead you on to think. This will be a show or a game. It's a show. It's a short film series. It's 6 episodes. Each episode is roughly 20 to 25 minutes long, and it follows a linear story. So you kind of have your main characters that the show is following, which are new characters, and then all the revisiting characters are kind of the supporting cast. I was too. That Davis was voiced by Euron Lowenthal, and it's so funny too because I just finished playing Spider-Man 2, and I saw somebody in Reddit post about it, and I was like, "Oh, that's so interesting." He's just so good at character voices, so that was really cool to see. Let's see what else we got here. Trailer was fantastic. Very excited to see where it goes. Thank you. You know, it was very exciting to release it. We weren't anticipating any sort of release as far as the teaser just yet, because you got to remember when we were starting this whole production, Titanfall 2 was essentially a dead game. You know, on console, aside from the North Star client, on console, like, you could maybe get into private matches every once in a while, but, you know, generally speaking, you know, you weren't getting into anything. So, you know, that was the state of the game. And, oh, what's up, Evan? Evan Boymail, voice of Viper. He's here hanging out with us. Evan, I have a solution for the PS5 and actually getting it running with a decent camera instead of the Sony webcam. So shoot me a message and I'll relay that to you. But going back to, you know, what I was saying, we weren't anticipating dropping a teaser so early just because, you know, the production was still a few months out. We didn't want to like tease it and then have people have to wait for such a long time. But then, as you all know, and as I'm doing right now, the game just got updated out of nowhere. And so, you know, it was one of those, we had to kind of take advantage of what was there to use. So went ahead and put together the trailer. We were already in, you know, the rendering phase. Almost all of the show is rendered out of Unreal Engine 5, with the exception of a couple more things that need animation, but it's like very much so on the back end. And for a show that's like looking to length somewhere around 2.5 hours is kind of what I'm anticipating. I've cut together 4 episodes so far, just out of the renders to start prepping for VFX, and each episode is averaging about 25 minutes, and the final episode is a little bit longer, so it'll be interesting to see what that final length ends up being, but it's going to be, you know, quite a bit longer than we would have anticipated in the beginning, but it's really exciting. We're putting the episodes when you upload them. They will all be posted to this YouTube channel for free. You know, one of the things we didn't want to have happen was we make this whole thing and then, you know, somebody like EA or Respawn finds out, you know, we're either making money off of it or, you know, have the intent to or have spent money on the project. You know, that would kind of ruin it for everybody. And so to avoid that, you know, there's been no monetary funds or anything put towards the project. It's all been done volunteer based, you know, people doing things for free. Where is this guy? he's a cloak, so he could spook you. But yeah, so it'll all be uploaded here on YouTube, totally for free. So hopefully it doesn't introduce any issues just because we don't own the IP or anything. We want it to be as pure fan film as possible, and not encounter any of those issues that come, you know, with other shows. Anyway, we could donate. Just supporting the channel, sharing things around, you know, kind of hyping it up. You know, I'm doing a lot of production stuff by myself, but just more word of mouth. The more people can talk about it, you know, the better we can do, you know, getting it out in front of more fans. So even talking about it, like, you know, in games, if there's people in voice chat and like you want to bring it up, that'd be greatly appreciated. But as far as donating anything, you know, we're not accepting anything, so that we can keep this monetary free and you know, have it be as much in that fair use lane as possible. How many people are there working on New Frontiers? So that's a great question. So right now, wow, that was terrible. Right now, there's about 40 people involved between the actors and the crew. You know, maybe a handful more. Just people picking up, you know, small things and being involved. But a lot of the people who are involved, you know, this whole project, part of the inspiration for it was me and a whole bunch of people that I've known for years just in the filmmaking community. I've always wanted to make like bigger things, but there was never the opportunity or the technology to allow us to do that. You know, everything that's low budget is, you know, like there's almost nothing that you can put towards it. So it's always filming on favors, buying people pizza, stuff like that. And the only legitimate, you know, acting gigs that a lot of folks get are doing things, you know, you'll have like a dental commercial or something like that, and that's, you know, like once in a while you get like a cool short film or something, but it's never at like this big level. And there's also this barrier to entry as far as the accessibility of it. So with this production, what you know, I wanted to do was make it accessible to absolutely everybody, and get as many people that I knew from those communities involved, as well as folks from the Titanfall community. So there's been a lot of effort put towards that. And to give kind of an example of what this sort of looks like, one of the technologies that we've employed for New Frontiers is we're using AI audio tools to enhance the audio that comes out of somebody's smartphone. So what we can do with that is, you know, we have actors who are, you know, professional. They do voiceover work full time. That's their job. That's some of the actors' case, right? But some of the other ones, you know, they don't have access to studios or anything like that. So one of the things we made a point to do with this was have everybody record on their cell phones. And some of the voice actors just went to their studios and recorded there. And other ones, you know, all they had was a closet, and like the audio quality isn't great, but we're able to take their phone audio and enhance it with these tools so they don't need a studio. So it comes out, you know, even playing field for everybody. So it makes the barrier to entry very, very low. They just had to have a cell phone and a separate device to take the Discord call with. And that's how we recorded the entire thing. So got some really great actors involved in the project. And it really led to producing something that is really high quality, but didn't detract at all. What is the time frame for the show? Um, so let me drink some water here real quick. Time frame for the show is we're going to release episode 1 on, it's either Sunday or Monday, the 11th. I think it's a Sunday. Maybe it is a Monday, but we'll release all of the episodes day after day. So each night there will be a new episode. On the day before the finale, there will be a break where we'll post kind of a behind the scenes to show kind of what all the production looked like. And then the following day, which I believe that's the Sunday, will be the finale episode. So it'll be this, the 10th anniversary of Titanfall. We'll just have a week of this content rolling out day after day for all of you to enjoy and discuss. Do you voice any characters in the film? Not yet. I'm sure there'll probably be a need to just do little bits here and there just to fill in different yells or screams just to get something hyper specific. That's what the original concept trailer was. If you go back and watch that, a lot of the grunts and stuff, it's just me just kind of yelling at full volume in this office to, do those moments. But yeah, so that might happen, but I don't voice anybody specifically, and I didn't really want to, because I wanted to provide as much opportunity to actors and folks from the community to get involved in this. Whew. Hot streak. How's that? Not gonna lie, that actually played pretty well. Trying to think if there's anything, there's been an overwhelmingly positive response from folks, which has been just, really great to hear. It's been overwhelmingly positive from a lot of folks, which is, it means a lot, because there's been so much work put into this, and when you put this much work into a project, there's always that bit of doubt before it comes out, will there, are people actually gonna like it? Am I just overhyping this in my head? I see every flaw and mistake, and I want to make it better, but certain things are just restricted to time. So when folks get there's that community feedback coming in, it's just super helpful. Is that a car with a 2x scope? I don't think so. I think it's just the car with the just the standard sights. I can't quite remember though. For everybody on online who says that the car is overpowered, I think there's maybe a little bit of truth to that, but I think all the weapons in the right hands are strong in their own right. Same thing with the Titans. It's really dependent on who's playing it. I don't even know I caught that, but hey, it worked out. I guarantee you people like that. I appreciate that, Brick. You've been extremely supportive in this whole thing for a while now, and it means a lot. And it's one of those, you know, one of the things that makes me really happy is being able to design like all this for the community and seeing things like when I go to my YouTube analytics and stuff, having it just say, you know, like the channel has like a 99% like ratio. You know, it makes me really happy that I'm able to not only deliver stuff that you guys enjoy, but like that it's also wanted in the community. Dropped that too soon. When it comes to community projects, okay, the quality is poor. What the hell is it? I gotta keep reminding myself that too, because it is a fan community project. I mean, you know, it's you know, that's really all it is at its core. It is turning out really good. I'm really happy about that, but you know, it's something that's being done for fun, for free, you know, and you know, obviously I want it to be good, but you know, there is also that, you know, that sensation of it is a fan film, and you know, I'm constantly trying to find ways just to do the best by it, and create something that not only is good for Titanfall community to watch, but also, like, you know, all my friends who are in the filmmaking community, who have been a part of this, you know, they're all super hyped for it, and I want to be able to deliver something that kind of shows that, like, this is more than just a proof of concept. Like, this is a viable way for us to make films now, and, like, you know, the barrier to entry, that bar has just become much lower. The real men me use SMR. I have been having fun using that in the new game modes that they've been introducing. All I care about is the story. Will Jack Cooper be a big part of it? So Jack Cooper is he is one of the central characters. I don't want to give too much away. You know, he's obviously not as front and center as he is in the campaign, because this isn't Jack's story, but he is heavily involved, and he has a strong presence in it. So you can definitely expect to see him. Justin Foster, who actually came from the Reddit community, he's a professional voiceover artist, super humble, just phenomenal guy. He had reached out and was like, hey, like, you know, whatever you need, like, let me know, I'm there. And I listened to his voice reel and I was like, dude, like, you know, I want to make this something that's special for the community and, like, get community members involved. And I asked him if he'd be willing to play Jack Cooper, and the voice he does is a phenomenal sound-alike, and he came from the Reddit community, which was super duper cool. Does the voice of Jack sound similar? Yes, he 100% does. And not just in, like, he's trying to sound like Jack way, but he really nails down the mannerisms and does an excellent job making him have character and depth, without being like you know, like, it's not him trying to be Matthew Mercer, it's him being Jack Cooper, and it came off really, really well. And that was the case with all the sound-alikes that we got, you know, for the project. Was, you know, everybody who did get involved just absolutely crushed their roles in it. So it's the same thing. The voice of Sarah Briggs. It's a woman named Cara O'Brien. She's a phenomenal voiceover and actress. And I'd worked with her a few times at a production company I was at, and she came on board the project. And just her ability to capture the voice without it, blatantly trying to sound like, oh, it's got to be exactly like the game. Really just led to more character depth, which was so cool to see and be a part of and direct. Well, the pilots have their helmets on most of the time. It's probably maybe like 60-40, 50-50. There's a lot of scenes with characters in their helmets and a lot of scenes with them without. There's a lot of new technology that we wanted to try and utilize in this, which also allowed the actors to do their facial performance capture from their phones, which is technology that actually got better since we recorded, which was it's super cool to see all that evolving, because it's just going to make stuff like this even easier and more accessible to folks in the future. But yeah, I'd say it's about 50-50, maybe 60-40, helmets on to helmets off. Ion, why? I'm just playing Ion because this is one of the characters that is in the show. Her character is the Pulse Blade, and she has an Ion Titan. So I tried to make as many of these loadouts based off of the show as I could, because then it allows me to play the game and see the characters kind of in motion and action doing, Titanfall stuff. So while I'm animating, I can try to make it as accurate to that as possible. So that was a huge factor in creating the show. And during this stream, I'll be playing as many of those Pilot Titan combos. Hopefully getting through all the ones that I have set up on this stream. Some characters couldn't debut just because they're from strictly Titanfall 1. But, that is what it is. This ain't New Frontiers, this is a Titanfall 2. So New Frontiers is a show. You can go watch the teaser. I'm just playing, kind of talking about the creation of it, since I've been kind of the one front-manning the whole production. But how often are we going to see Titans? So Titans are definitely a big part of the story. And the way that the story was written in that we convey everything from cinematography and everything is to treat Titans as the characters as well. So it's not, like the pilots and, their mech buddies. We try to make them as integrated as the characters and have them contribute in those ways, which was really interesting to write because, you have, like characters with faces and expression, they can have influx in their voice. And then, you have these giant 30-foot tall mechs that are, very monotone. And, we didn't want to write a bunch of BT, one-to-one rip-offs. Each Titan kind of has a unique voice. But it was a matter of, writing them in a way that not only was believable, but also, like, gave the actors some leeway. So, for example, one of the Titans is named Edith, and it's played by an actress named Sherry Lee. She's an old friend of mine Me and her go way back, and she voices the main Titan in the story, which was take it out. But you know, being able to give her that character, and knowing what she's capable of and the voice that she has, really allowed me to confidently write the character, knowing that it was going to be, you know, handled with care. This one is Monarch. I also tried to do the skins and the colors close. Oh wait, hold up. I don't want to get in a party right now. Let's see. Are there any stealth type scenes in New Frontiers? So to answer the stealth question, yes, there are stealth base scenes. You know, there's some interesting things that are played with in that regard. We want to try to get, you know, as much of what you see in the game and what, you know, folks know from the campaign, and also introduce, you know, some new stuff as well, and how the different pilot tacticals would be used, you know, in these different situations. There's another question I saw. What would be the hardest part of production be? Feels like a wall running jump backs. Yeah, so there have been a lot of challenging parts of production. You know, when this whole thing started, I hadn't even, you know, done like a successful test of, you know, the facial performance captures. So that was all something new, just figuring out on the fly. But as far as the animation goes, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that were just a matter of, you know, had to figure out how is this going to work, and we're doing the motion capture, and like, you know, how do you do something that's actually physically impossible, and understanding like how you can alter it, you know, in post-production. So one of those things was with something like the wall running, or like when one character like jumps onto another one, like with the pulse blade execution, with stuff like that. It was just a matter of figuring out like how are these things going to work in tandem. So some of that might be like, you know, setting a couple of pillows down on the floor and you do the motion capture where it's like, you know, you do the jump up motion, you know that your legs are going to have to be altered after the fact, and then, you know, you jump down onto an object, and kind of piece all that together in the animation. So it was all, you know, there are a lot of meticulous parts in that arena. It also leads to a lot of things breaking in Unreal, and just like, you know, you do certain things, you work on a project for a long time, and then you reopen that animation and it's not working anymore. So there are just a lot of meticulous things, and once you like feel like it's as locked in as you're going to get it, then you kind of start baking things out, so hopefully it doesn't break as much. Let's see here. Alright. What software do you use to animate in? I see you use UE for rendering. I'm working on my own TF series as well. Do you have any recommendations for a good pipeline? Yeah, this is actually a phenomenal question. So, I built everything for this in Unreal Engine 5. So all the animation and everything was done in there, because I needed to figure out a way from the original trailer, which was done partially in Blender and partially in Unreal. I knew that just wasn't going to be as viable of an option for you know, this production. But I went ahead and sorry, I'm like I didn't realize how much more difficult it is to play and talk about different things at the same time. But you know, so I had to figure out how do you do things entirely in Unreal Engine. So part of that whole pipeline was you know, figuring out how to retarget the animation in Unreal and have that be scalable, because there are thousands of animations and some of the takes. You know, there are scenes that are up to, you know, 8 minutes long, where it needs to work at scale and not really slow us down. So that was a bit of a difficult thing to kind of figure out, but it was all about establishing that initial pipeline, you know, having naming conventions and everything that kept things organized. I think that would be probably my biggest recommendation, is getting those in place as much as possible. But yeah, then, you know, it's a matter of building it out and finding a pipeline that really works well for you. I have a couple of videos. They're unlisted on the channel just because I'm also in a community for motion capture and stuff, so I've done like a couple of tutorials on my pipeline. So if you want to see those and kind of know how I do things, feel free to shoot me a message, and I'd be happy to send those videos to you so you can start working on your own pipelines. They're just longer videos that aren't in the format that I'm trying to, you know, keep consistent on the channel. Let's see here. How intense is it going to be? So, the story itself, without like trying to give too many things away, but we really leaned into some of the themes and realities that were present in Titanfall 1. So that was a big inspiration for writing, which led to a lot of either intense or like hard to digest topics, because we really wanted to capture, like, you know, have the Frontier War. What realistically is going to happen after the events of Titanfall 2? You know, how does that affect not only the core worlds but also the Frontier? So there were a lot of questions like that that were asked before writing kind of began, which leads to a lot of intense and gritty scenes that, you know, some might not expect. It's not as carefree and fun as Apex, or even, you know, the Titanfall 2 campaign in a lot of ways was. So, you know, there's that to be cognizant of, but it's a much more serious tone. Would you rather fight a Kraber, an Alternator Demon, or an Amped Wall Spitfire combo? It doesn't really matter to me. Honestly, the way I kind of look at it is, if you're having fun, then, like, you do you. You play your loadouts, and I'll adapt on the battlefield. You know, that's all I really care about, is, are people having fun? And if the answer is yes, then, like, you know, you do you. I'm a dad, you know, I work and all sorts of stuff. I don't need I don't need to get on and get upset about what other people are doing in the game. If they're having a good time, then, like, more power to them. And I'll figure out ways to play around that. How do we know who our main characters will be? So there's a video that was posted about a year ago now, that you can find on the channel. It's still up. It's an early virtual production test just to see how successful, you know, everything would be, and giving the actors an idea of what to expect for production. So with that, you know, there's a video out there that has, you know, a very early test of production. Dang it. That wasn't a smart idea. But it has a lot of the main characters in that. But the story focuses on two characters in particular. One is named Celise. She's an IMC veteran. And the other is named Gila, and she's kind of, you know, she's newer to the scene as a pilot. But it's like kind of been her life grind to become one. And the story kind of revolves around them working together, and being paired up to go after Sarah Briggs and Jack Cooper. That's as spoiler free as I'm gonna get with it, as far as the story goes. You can DM me on, I don't know if you can do DMs on YouTube honestly anymore. I feel like YouTube's constantly changing stuff, but if you go onto Discord, I'm just Plot Coalition over there. You can shoot me a message, and I'd be happy to get it over to you. Or same thing on Reddit, you know, same username. Feel free to reach out, and I'd be happy to shoot you those pipeline videos. One is like a 2-hour live stream where I go over the whole thing, and then another one's like a 20-minute video where I just talk about the retargeting, the animation, and getting it onto your characters within Unreal Engine 5. What's the date of release of the first episode? March 11th, 2024 is the anticipated release. Though, you know, one of the things that I wanted to make sure I did with this project, as compared to a lot of fan projects that I see out there, is people will do the episodes just as they get completed, and a lot of times it just leads to the episodes never getting done, or there being long breaks in between production. And I didn't want that for this. I wanted to be able to release it and say, here's episode 1, here's episode 2, and so on and so forth. And have it just be a clean release. So with that, episode 1 will release on March 11th, and then every day subsequent to that, there will be a new episode until the series is finished with all 6. So then what happens from there, who knows? But as far as New Frontiers, what's planned and what's done, it's going to be those 6 in that week. Unless anything detrimental happens, but hopefully not. Are there any particular themes that New Frontiers is about? Yeah, so it deals very heavily with, you know, what are the consequences of a war, like what's portrayed in Titanfall, like what consequences does a galactic war have? Because I feel like, you know, a lot of times it's just chopped up to, you know, like you just assume everything that you've seen in something like a Star Wars or a Star Trek, just, you know, preconceived lore. And one of the neat things with this project, one of the guys who helped me write it, his name is Luke Ryan. He's an Army Ranger veteran, and he's a published author. And he really helped dial in and focus, like, what does this actually look like? And, you know, what do you face in these kinds of situations? So it deals with a lot of that, and then also like, you know, what happens, you know, post Titanfall 2. You know, the IMC is desperate. You know, they don't have resources. You know, the fold weapon just took out, you know, one of their main bases. So like financially, how does that affect them? And how do they retaliate to that in more or less like, you know, a budget friendly way? To try and end this conflict. And that's the other thing too, is like, you know, a lot of people, you know, just and you know, it's nothing wrong with what Respawn did. You know, they told a great story in a time that was appropriate for gameplay. But there is just that assumption of like, you know, the IMC is the big bad. And you know, we don't shy away from like the Titanfall. Yes, they are the big bad. But it shows a lot of like, you know, why would they do things a certain way? Because they're just trying to protect their homes. And you know, they populated the frontier, and now there's a war broken out from you know, that colonization. And how do they respond to it? So there's a lot of deep themes within the story, you know, and it. Again, I'm not trying to give anything about the story away, but it does dive into some pretty dark, you know, things that people actually deal with, and decisions that have to be made, you know, in war situations, which was largely just based off of you know, the war in Afghanistan, and the problems, you know, that arose because of that conflict and the length of time that the United States was there and whatnot. Seen as Titans a core to the universe, what's the pilot to Titan ratio that the show will represent? Yeah, so you know, each pilot does have, you know, a Titan. You know, some of them are on screen and showcased more than others. You know, there's a little bout with the 6-4 and the characters or new characters that are members of the 6-4, which were kind of derived from, you know, the multiplayer that you get in Titanfall 2. You know, you can be part of the 6-4 with the other multiplayer folks online. So that really was just an inspiration to kind of do like a 6-4 squad within that. But you know, there's only so much you can write without it being a much longer show, and because, you know, had to just think about what was doable, you know, we really tried to focus on you know, the characters, to also include the Titans, but there are also some that just don't get as much screen time as other Titans because of, you know, the nature of how it had to be written, so it didn't become convoluted. But you know, every character had a lot of depth put into them. Like every Titan, you know, like all the 6-4 Titans, you know, kind of one of the internal lore things is that one of the pilots just is really big into making decals for her squad. So like she made like a decal for each of them to go on their Titans, but like one of the squad members just, you know, hates the idea of putting decals on her Titan, so like they snuck one on there and she tried to rip it off, so like there's a tear in the sticker and stuff. So there's like tons of little details like that we tried to focus on, without, you know, when there wasn't as much opportunity to follow that character. Is the Discord plot underscore coalition? I'm pretty sure it's plot underscore coalition. I'm also in a couple of the Discord servers. So if we're in any of those together, you can find my account through that. After the show releases, would the season 2 be something that can be expected? So this is something that I've gotten asked about a few times, which is really funny because, you know, there isn't even the first part of the story out yet. There are no plans for a season 2 to be made. But if that does happen, I know exactly the direction that I'd want to go with it. I don't have the whole story figured out, but, you know, same as what Titanfall 2 initially, or sorry, what New Frontiers initially started as, you know, was a bunch of ideas of like, you know, what do I want to see out of the Titanfall universe? And now that I have all these characters, it was okay, you know, what can we do with them to continue the story? Goodness, that should have been an easy kill. But so yeah, no promises. The biggest caveat to a season 2 is this show is a ton of work, and it's all being produced, you know, entirely for free. And a lot of people put a lot towards it. And, you know, we're trying something new, kind of revolutionizing how this is done. But, you know, it's a lot of people donating a lot of their time and talents to be a part of it. And for the actors, a lot of their phone space when we were recording. Just all these takes that, you know, we had to keep organized and whatnot from their phones over Discord. It's a crazy process. But it's also crazy that it can be done. That all being said, I wouldn't want to ask the actors, the cinematographers, the lighting designers, any of them to do it again for free. You know, I don't think that'd be fair. I think this is a good proof of concept that this can be done and it's viable. But in order to do a season 2, it would have to have some sort of back-end funding to make happen. And because I don't own the IP and we're trying to make this, you know, something that's accessible and can be watched for free, that's just something that's not really in the cards right now. And this is a very big if, but, you know, if there was a scenario where Respawn sees part of the show or something and they adore it and they want something else to be done with it, then that's I think where that would happen. Now that doesn't mean that a season 2 couldn't happen in a different medium, a different form, but it would be you know, just something else, whether that be something like a comic book, or, you know, just a graphic based thing. You know, who knows what the future could hold, but it's something that I couldn't ask, you know, everybody to do for free a second time, you know. And, you know, monetarily, I just don't think I would put my own money in at that scale, because we're talking about, you know, these folks did this at a feature film level. You know, it's about 2.5 hours long. It took a month to record just the dialogue. and that was every single night. You know, different actors on rotation. So it was a lot of work to get it done, and then the motion capture was 6 weeks. And with some follow up there, and even the motion capture itself, you know, that was it was 6 weeks of just constant technical difficulties, because the motion capture suit that we have, it's a Rococo Smart Suit Pro 2. It's an incredible device, and it makes it really accessible to indie filmmakers to do motion capture, like really good motion capture. But you know, it was just constant technical difficulty for 6 straight weeks of just trying to get everything recorded. And at that, we only had one suit, so every single character, if there are multiple characters on screen, we had to do the scene over and over again for each character to make that work. And it does, and it's really incredible when you think about it. But again, it was such an arduous process that it'd be really hard to do it again without, you know, another suit. Some of the new technology that Rococo has coming out would all be things to consider, but all that scales with budget, and that's just something we don't have put towards it right now. For the season 1, totally works. You know, everybody has done an amazing job contributing, but as far as the season 2 goes, you know, no plans of it right now. But if the opportunity arose, I know what I would do with it. That was a very, very long answer to that question. Let's see here. Protocol 5 reject the bills. Phone recordings for the win. Yes, Modin. Also, go subscribe to Modin31 if you're not already. He really did a lot when that initial fan trailer released. He made a video on his channel just talking about it, encouraging people to go watch it without like convoluting it. It wasn't like a react. He just sat there, kind of gave it praise, talked about it, and pushed people to the video, which, like, I'm forever thankful for. That was huge. And he also voices a character in New Frontiers, and you heard his voice at the start of the teaser trailer. My son loves the cloak character and always wants him to be green, so that's that skin choice right there. What's your favorite gun in the Titanfall universe? So I've actually been really getting into, and I'll get to it here in a couple rounds. I have been playing a lot of Double Take. It's a gun that I wasn't really using before. You know, the game, because there was no way to upgrade anything for a long time, I wasn't getting more unlocks or anything. But now that it's back online, and I kind of drove all the other weapons into the ground and I've used them a whole lot, I wanted to try something new, and so I picked up the Double Take, and I really enjoy using that in a fast-paced environment. You know, I don't understand people who camp in Titanfall 2, because like the whole game is about the movement. So just trying to use it in a fast-paced manner is really challenging and a lot of fun. I really like the shot in the teaser where the unknown character looking out at the explosive aftermath at the end of Titanfall 2. Yeah, that's, you know, stuff like that is all imagery that I wanted to see while writing the script and coming up with the story. So that character, that is a character named Pyrus Hayden, who's voiced by Roger Tyler. He's a phenomenal actor, and just went, you know, he went above and beyond for this project. His performances are incredible. And with that shot specifically, you know, that's one of those, you know, as I'm doing production, you know, it's brought into question, like, how much can we lean into traditional filmmaking? So that's one of those shots where in Unreal Engine, you know, we render it out on a green screen, and then we comp in, you know, this beautiful generated map painting of Typhon. You know, what would Typhon look like, you know, 3 days after it had exploded? And that's the map painting that we put behind that shot, and just brings this extra scale that just is not only beautiful imagery, but also just helps tell the story in kind of this familiar way, like in, you know, movies you'd see from the 70s and 80s in sci-fi. And, you know, the giant map paintings that they would use in there just to give a sense of scale. So that was... Did it friendly just attach a thermite grenade to me? That's wild. I've never had that happen. Let's see here. I'm trying to keep up with as many of the comments as I can while still, you know, try not to do horrible gameplay. Do you have a favorite between the two main characters you created? Anything that provided a challenge when writing for them? That is a great question. So initially, what I was going to write wasn't it wasn't a new pilot and a veteran pilot. It was two veteran pilots, because I felt like that was a story that doesn't really get told. And as I tried to figure it out and write that angle, you know, there was just some difficulty in figuring out, like, how do you make that specifically work. And what ended up happening was, I knew one of the characters, Cindy Maples. She plays the main character, Celise. She's, you know, again, a good friend, and a phenomenal voiceover actress. And I knew she was going to play the main character because me and her had already, you know, come together and talked about it. She was the voice in the original, the original trailer that I made a year ago. And we knew, you know, going into this that, you know, as long as she loved the script, that she was going to be a part of it too. So when I was writing that, you know, one of the other characters that I knew I wanted to have, or at least actors that I wanted to get involved, was Sherry, who voices one of the Titans, one of the main Titans in the game. That was a waste of a smart core. and as I was trying to write it that way and figure out, like, how do you make the story work with two characters that are very similar, because they also have similar voices, just because tonally their age, you know, they're each you know, in their 40s, and that's the characters that I wanted to have, but it just wasn't working from a story perspective in a believable way. So that's when it came into consideration, like, okay, what if, you know, the secondary character was a lot younger, and was, you know, more being trained for this role of, like, you know, the last of, you know, these elite IMC pilots. And so once I kind of came from that angle, it made just the writing that much easier. That all being said, both the characters, I would have to say probably absolute. It's so hard to pick, but I think the Hollow pilot Gila, only because she got a lot of her character became very dynamic through the story and through the acting. You get to see a bit about her past in the story. So the younger actress who voices her as a kid just did, you know, a phenomenal job. So that, you know, paired with this story of her as an adult, just really went leaps and bounds into making something really, really special for that character. But both of them are so great. The actors did an amazing job portraying them in a better way than I could have ever possibly written them. So that just went a long way to just adding a lot of depth to these characters and making them, you know, believable as people, you know, not only individually, but just as a part of this world. Is really cool to see. Trying to get... Goodness, that is a lot of comments. How did you learn to use Unreal Engine? Self-taught. You know, when I made the initial fan trailer, that was just really a bare bones concept. But I posted that on the year anniversary of me learning Unreal Engine. So it was something that I just really dedicated a lot of time to learning, but also applying, you know, the filmmaking skills that I've gathered over the years to also be a part of it and contribute, you know, to making things feel more realistic. I think that's one thing that a lot of folks miss out on and maybe don't see right away in their renders, is they don't feel like it's as realistic or feels as filmic as they want it to. And a lot of that just comes down to understanding the fundamentals of filmmaking, you know, at a bare bones level. Yeah, I mean, I would encourage anybody who's interested in learning it. You know, Unreal Engine is free to use, and it's a very powerful piece of software. If you're just testing stuff out, like, I say 100% go for it. You know, learn what you can, and if you like it, cool. If not, you know, it's fun to use because it is just like messing around in a video game sandbox to create stuff, which is a lot of fun. Do you have to go back to taking copium pills, or is there hope? As far as, like, if you're asking about Titanfall 3, it's, you know, I'm indifferent. If Respawn wants to keep making Apex, and, you know, they're doing a good job at that, then, like, you know, like, more power to them. It's their game, it's their franchise. I would love to see a Titanfall 3, but, like, I'm also just happy that Titanfall 2 is working again. And, you know, that I can play this game. Because, like, you know, that's the thing I think a lot of people forget about. Is, like, all these years later, it's not like you're playing a less than game. You're playing a game that is just as good and just as strong as when it came out and competes with shooters today. So having Titanfall 2 back is enough for me, and if Titanfall 3 ever does happen, then fantastic. I will be on that pre-order list. But, you know, I do think they're probably working on something. What that is, who knows? But I ain't worried about no pills. How do you animate something like that? Motion capture. Motion capture is the big friend, you know. I hadn't done a lot of animating beforehand, and I was lucky enough to have access to a Rokoko Smart Suit Pro, and it's a great tool. and it did wonders for production. But you know, even now there are different ways to get motion capture that just didn't exist a year ago. Even Rococo has an option, which I'm fairly certain is free, but where you can take video from a webcam and generate motion capture from that. So there's a lot of neat tools out there that can help you tell stories. And then you just pick up on things as you need them. I have been using a lot of my anti-Titan weapons, I just realized. Loading, that's phenomenal. That puts a smile on my face. What site are you going through for your royalty-free music? Another phenomenal question. So for this production, for a lot of the music, we're using tracks from... Where did that track? Oh, there it is. Wait, I'm confused. There it is. We're using music from a site called Trying Digital. And if you've ever heard of the YouTube channel Film Riot, it's those guys. They make, you know, very cheap royalty-free music for you to use in short films and stuff. And it's just the greatest resource. They provide all the stems for the music so you can, you know, remix them for your own tracks and stuff. It's just a great resource. But in addition to that, we actually have two composers that also came from the Reddit community, working on the project for more specific things. Tom Duffy and Deanna Del Toro. They've done an amazing job creating custom music for this project. Deanna wrote and produced the theme for the show, which turned out amazing. And then Tom Duffy has done a lot of additional scoring work to also include stuff that we need to sound like it's from the game without being, you know, an obvious rip. So he's doing an amazing job composing that. Right one, thank you in advance. I think you must have, because I see I have 2 Discord notifications, so I'll definitely get you those videos once I hop off of here. I'm just gonna fire away at this while I look at the comments. Hey, just found out about this project today and was wondering what is the best way to support the project. Share it. You know, the more people hear about it, especially with Titanfall fans, if you're playing online and, you know, there are folks chit-chatting, mentioning it to them, you know, that's going to be the best way to support, because we don't want to take anything monetarily so that we can stay within fair use as much as possible, and not get, you know, caught in a bad situation with the project. So we're not accepting anything monetarily, but the best way that you can help is by sharing in Discord servers, on Reddit, in game, just as often as possible. Would be huge. That's all we really ask for. You Amptwall user with the Spitfire. Again, if they're having fun, then more power to them. I don't care. I'm just trying my best to pay attention while playing Titanfall 2 right now. Yeah, it's really hard to play and talk at the same time. I haven't even really been paying attention to how well I've been doing, or if I'm doing just completely awful. Not really paying attention to my stats during stream. What's your FOV setting at? It looks low. It's just whatever the standard is for the game. I've never really changed it. I don't really care. You know, I'm one of those gamers that's like a sucker for, you know, the delivered experience. You know, if a game wants to feel more cinematic or filmic, like I don't go and turn that stuff off. You know, when a game says it has a locked frame rate for better graphics and performance, you know, I don't get all uptight about that. I'm like, hey, cool, they're making a game. Is it fun? That's what matters. Let's see here. If you had to describe working with all these talented voice actors and actresses in one word, what would you use? Honored. I'm honored that, you know, they all accepted and were a part of it. Some of the folks, you know, I'd never met before. This is my first time working with them. Yeah, some of them were we were both part of the same project, but we never really got a chance to work together. And this allowed us to do that. So it was all just, you know, it was such an honor to work with all these people, both them and the crew, you know, the cinematographers who came on and were a part of this and allowed me to see it in a different light. Because for the longest time, you know, I'm looking at this project one way, you know, like I see my vision and what I have in my head for these scenes. And it's very hard for me to break away from that because I've been working on it for so long. And then the cinematographers come on and they give me different perspective and they make it look better. And then I go into other scenes where I'm doing the cinematography on those. And I'm like, okay, how would they approach this? And it just, it made the project so much better. Same with the, our lighting designer, Cassandra saying, you know, she came in and looked at the environments and was like, you know, before they were just like the raw build outs, kind of flat. You know, they didn't look great, but then she came in and was like, okay, like let's try these things out, light it this way. And she just made it look that much better. So everybody who's been involved just did a phenomenal job in making it better as a whole. And, you know, again, the actors were a huge part of that in bringing the characters to life because, you know, I can write them, I can try to make them all sound different, but when they get their voice in there or they're like, hey, like, can I change this? I feel like this is better for the character. It just makes it so much better than, you know, I could have ever possibly tried to do on my own, which is really exciting. Let's see here. Score trip. Keen to see this. Trailer looked mint. Thank you. Very, very excited. I think, if I'm reading your name correctly, I believe you're one of the voices in this. It's very hard to pay attention, but I've been looking at your real name, not your tag name, while on production. But Geminalt VA, if that's you, if you submitted with vocal recordings, thank you for your contributions. You know, even you know, stuff like that is just a huge help to making the production feel more refined. Here, I'm gonna sit for just a second. Let's just get to some of these. Does Apex Legends connect at all to New Frontiers? It does, but not in a super significant way. Essentially, the New Frontiers story takes place post Titanfall 2, and leads in a trajectory towards Apex, but there are no characters from Apex involved, but there is Apex influence. For example, you know, there's I tried to put as much detail as I possibly could into every aspect of every scene and setting in this. So with that, you know, there's a character, she's just a background character. she's like a flight deck operator on one of the IMC ships, but you know, kind of in my very basic lore, she's somehow related to Bangalore, and that drove her character design. And well, that was a waste of a cover truck. But it was little stuff like that on top of all the Titanfall stuff to make it, you know, as because I didn't want it to just be like strictly to Titanfall. I want Apex fans to feel like they can connect to this as well. And even though this isn't necessarily for Apex fans, it moves in that direction towards the end, just to kind of set up, you know, that line and try to be as consistent as possible within both storylines in that universe. Which would you want to see from more, Battlefront 3 or Titanfall 3? Titanfall 3 easily. I really love the original Battlefront 2. I remember playing that like at all my friends' houses growing up. Some great memories with that. And then when Battlefront 2015, I think it was, came out, you know, that was similar. It was just like, this is phenomenal. I'm loving it. And then Battlefront 2, you know, I don't think it was that bad of a game. I thought it was totally fine. You know, a lot of people complain about microtransactions and whatnot, but I'm like, hey, they gotta make their money somewhere. I'm fine with the default skins. Even though there was some pay to win in that game. But, you know, like by that point, I was like, okay, like, you know, the Star Wars thing isn't doing it as much for me anymore. But, you know, that being said, I can confidently say after working on the Titanfall fan series for over a year and putting this much time into such a project, that I would not be mad about seeing Titanfall 3. Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't see this question before, seeing as you had to go. But I'll answer. Hopefully you're still here. But for anybody else, will there be any Easter eggs? Tons. The show is riddled with Easter eggs. You know, some of them are used in passive ways. Others are used as main parts of the story. So it's a whole thing. For example, one of like the main themes in New Frontiers just deals with like what is regeneration and how does it affect, you know, these different soldiers. So one of the plot points in the game or in the show is, and this isn't really a spoiler because it's in that character early production test. But Gila is like big into regeneration, but then, you know, it goes into like how does that affect her character and her mental state on the battlefield, and how much is it like deteriorating her ability to analyze things from you know, not just a tactical perspective but also an emotional one and an ethical one. So a lot of interesting things were played with there. Let's see. Am I the only one trying to get to G10 on every Titan? You know, it's the only one that I have G10 on is Tone, because that's what I played as for a long time before the game really really kind of got shut down for good for a while there. So now that it's back, I'm just playing through all of them. I like to have variety and change up my gameplay in between games. So I'm not too worried about trying to get theirs specifically for every single one. I'm just having fun when I can play the game. All right. Who's your favorite Titan and why? Interesting question. So while writing New Frontiers, you know, the two main Titans are a North Star and a Ronin. And I wasn't really big into playing Ronin until really since the game got fixed. Have I really like gotten into actually trying to play the Titan and get good with it? I played it a couple times, just while researching stuff, but like it was really hard to get a hold of, especially because, you know, in those private match days, you're playing with people who have been like non-stop playing the game, so trying to learn a new Titan was fairly difficult. You know, it was kind of a hard barrier to break through. But I did play a lot of North Star during that, and it's been a ton of fun just learning, like, you know, how do you use it in different situations. That's a Reaper. And how does it, you know, trying to figure out how to play it well, and also adapt that into the story, which is also interesting for, you know, any hardcore fans out there. Something that we were in debate about writing. We had a few Titanfall fans as writers on this just to keep things lore accurate and whatnot. But one of the debates was like, you know, do we limit Titans to their multiplayer loadouts? And the answer ended up being no, mainly because you see stuff like in the cinematic trailer and stuff, there's a Scorch with an XO16 and stuff. And there were certain things just while writing, it was like, you know, like, okay, we have the North Star, and this situation happens. Well, it has a giant sniper rifle, so, like, there you go, problem solved. So, like, how do you create a different barrier there? And so we ended up changing, you know, some of those loadouts, which was a neat little thing to start to include in the writing of it. But probably North Star, I'd say, for the time being. But I did play Tone for a long time, back when I was first getting into the game, and that's the one that I have ranked up the most. Does time travel have any part in New Frontiers, kind of like cause and effect? Yes, it does. You know, there's a little bit that goes into that. We wanted to be able to bring things that were familiar from the game campaign into this project. So there's a little bit to help push the story forward. It's not just there just to be like, oh, here's like a time travel bit. Like, it actually contributes forward towards the story and grows both characters because of it. Was there any specific reason you chose to make a miniseries about Titanfall and not another game? Interesting question. That's actually the first time I've been asked about this. So there's actually, when I did the initial concept trailer, I did an article, or I did an interview for an article for School of Motion, which is a pretty big like motion design magazine, I suppose. More of a website, but I did an article with them, kind of talking about there's a few reasons. So like, you know, I didn't want to do like the next Star Wars fan film. That's a little tapped out. Same thing with Halo. You know, we see a lot of that out there. But also it was one of those legit how this all started. My brother-in-law was at my house. I was playing some Titanfall 2. And I was like, man, this game is just like, it's so cool. like it'd be really cool to make something about this. And me and him just started like spitballing ideas. And that initial idea was like, how terrifying would, if you're a grunt, how terrifying would a Reaper encounter be? And that's what spawned that initial video, that initial concept trailer, which was just gonna be like the one-off thing around that. And then, you know, I wasn't really like too deeply involved with the community. I liked the game. I played it a lot, but never really got involved in the community aspect of it. And then once I got involved while I was making the trailer and kind of seeing the fans' reaction to, you know, there's somebody doing a fan film about this game that they love, and then the reception to that initial trailer, you know, just spurred on the rest of it. So there wasn't like, you know, like it wasn't a situation of like, oh, this game is just so epic and I want to make, you know, this really long series about it. It was just really this interesting evolution of seeing how much people loved the game, and the potential that it had, because like once I started looking more deeply into the lore and not just like as like a cool first-person shooter, like I was like, oh my goodness, like there's so much that was unexplored that like they had obviously set up, and now that we know more about kind of what happened with Titanfall 3 and whatnot, you know, it makes sense that they wanted to continue that lore, because it just goes so deep and is so rich, and they built this really intriguing world, and so now that, you know, knowing all that and being able to write within it, just really offered a lot. And again, you know, it's one of those, once the stars were kind of aligning, it was like, oh wait, like everybody that like I know that's always wanted to do like bigger things, you know, do acting beyond, you know, the you know 48-hour film festival or the dentist commercial, like stuff like that. Like all of a sudden there was an opportunity for all of us to work on something more than that. And so, you know, New Frontiers was born. Oh my goodness, that was awful. Oh, and the game foam replicas. I'm starting to work. That's super cool. Yeah, definitely post that stuff. You know, I think one of the biggest things that can be done for the community, and always has been, in my opinion, is just creating more of that stuff and sharing it. You know, I think a lot of people get inspired just when there are these little projects, whether it's a cosplay or a drawing, or even like a high effort meme. You know, I think it goes a long way for fans. Alright. I'm probably going to call this stream after this game, so if you have any other questions, definitely drop them in, because we're down to the last Titan pilot combo here. Waited that one out. Could I still submit art to New Frontiers? Absolutely. We have those art submissions open until the end of the year. So anything you want to submit, by all means, would love to see it and get it, you know, involved for the premiere of the series. It'd be super cool. How's everyone with Kraber? I'm terrible with it. I'm still figuring out the double take, but you know, I tried Kraber like once and I was like, nope, not for me. I'm just hearing about this art thing. What's going on with that? Yeah, so on this channel, if you head over to, it's a more recent video that I posted. It's essentially a way for people to submit their art to get it featured in New Frontiers. So it's a Google form. You just go in, you fill it out with art. You need to be able to prove that it's yours with a work in progress image. So that can just be like a cell phone photo of your screen with either the original Photoshop file or something if you're working on it that way, or if it's a cosplay, just like you building it pre the paint and stuff, just so that we can ensure that nobody's stealing other people's art. And then you submit. When you submit, you're giving us full rights to use it as a part of production. But the main way that we want to see about using it is either as stuff that we can feature during the credits or as pre-rolled at each episode. Or there's even, we're talking about doing a live show after each episode airs, just to provide more insight to the project with people who worked on it, and so having it air for a countdown during that. But yeah, if you go to that video, that's where the Google form and everything is, and submit. Would love to see your art and get it involved. Everybody who submits, as long as it's not too gratuitous or graphic, we want to get everybody's art involved. And yeah, that, as far as how gratuitous or graphic, that'll just be something that we kind of determine based on what we receive and on a case-by-case basis. But we'll kind of be holding everybody to the same standard for that. Maybe you could do something. I kind of want to make something New Frontiers related, but I don't know what. Any ideas? Honestly, what I would suggest, if you want to make something New Frontiers related, this is going to sound like shameless plugging, but, just go through and watch what's already out there. There are a lot of little Easter eggs and hints that I've been dropping just in different videos and whatnot, and different screenshots just to give, more context to the world that we're building. So if you want to do something related to New Frontiers, there's a lot there. And then, of course, there's this nifty new teaser trailer that's out. So you can check that out as well. Oh, that's pretty cool. A double take painted in New Frontiers color scheme. That'd be pretty sick to see. You know, you could even making it, you know, based on like kind of a hybrid where it's like you got these cool sights and whatnot, making that like hollow sights or something. If that's possible, that could be pretty cool. Or like the Hollow Nova helmet. That'd be pretty sick. Would love to see that. Alright. Just making sure I didn't miss anybody's questions or anything. This is, you know, wrapping up, kind of coming to the end. Ah, dang. That would have been a pretty cool. But yeah, to everybody who's joined and watched the teaser, huge thank you. You know, if you feel so inclined, please share the teaser. You know, we want to get this in front of more and more Titanfall fans. So doing that is a huge help. But I'm dead. I think we're through here. But this has been fun. Oh, what do you mean by Hollow Nova sights? I mean like the helmet visor. Could be cool to make the sights, you know, or at least that similar kind of scheme could be pretty cool. But yeah, thank you everybody for being a part of this. It's been a lot of fun. You know, I'm not sure when I'm going to stream again. You know, it's going to be a lot of focus from here to get the whole show wrapped up so we can hit that March 11th deadline and get everything out for you guys. But yeah, thank you for being here, and keep the conversation going offline. Catch you later.